The ocean was calm, a metallic drone buzzed just above the waves, scanning the surface with a crimson beam. Somewhere beyond the sea fog, nestled between uncharted tectonic lines, lay the forbidden island, Isla Imara. Officially, it didn't exist. No government map marked it, no satellite dared linger. But deep in its tangled forests and decaying labs, something stirred, something that should never have been made. Thousands of miles away, in a high-security intelligence compound, buried beneath London's old war tunnels, a woman stood frozen in front of a holographic display. Her name, Zora Bennett, former military specialist, Black Ops Unit commander, and the only survivor of Operation Silencer, the failed containment of the Northern African raptor outbreak 3 years prior. She had buried her past, the dinosaurs, the trauma, the loss. But now, the past had come back roaring. The image on the screen flickered, a young family, a couple, and their 10-year-old son, screaming inside what looked like a shattered observation dome. The glass above them cracked with each thunderous impact. Behind it, something moved, not a T-Rex, not a raptor. Bigger, smarter, the screen glitched again, blood splashed. Signal lost. That's Isla Imara, the voice behind her said coldly. And it's not abandoned anymore. Zora turned slowly. Across the room stood Duncan Kincaid, a shadowy figure dressed in midnight gray. Once her commanding officer, now a ghost in the intelligence world. He tossed a small chip onto the table. Jensen Pharma never stopped. They just moved underground. What you saw is real, and if we don't retrieve the genome samples from the island's vault, the next generation of predators won't need cages. They'll walk our streets. Zora's jaw tightened. She had promised herself never to go back into the dinosaur world. But she saw the boy's face again, the mother's scream, and somewhere in the back of her mind, the same old whisper returned, only monsters can kill monsters. I'm in, she said. Outside the compound, thunder rolled, and far across the Atlantic, something massive emerged from the tree-lined yellow, eyes glowing. Breath steaming in the dawn air, rebirth had begun. The transport plane tore through dark clouds like a blade. Inside, the air was thick with tension. The hum of the engines was the only soundtrack as Zora sat strapped across. From for unfamiliar faces, all handpicked by Kincaid. A mission like this didn't allow for introductions, only survival. She glanced across at Dr. Henry Loomis, the young geneticist with wild, storm-colored eyes. He fidgeted with his data tablet like a kid gripping a teddy bear. Zora had read his file, a prodigy, but no field experience. What the hell was he doing here? Next to him sat Inez Varga, a silent infiltration expert, her face hidden behind a matte black visor. Then there was Tariq Singh, ex-Navy, demolitions, with a nervous grin that betrayed something deeper. And finally, Mason Creed, the sniper, older, battle-worn, with a deep scar under one eye and the kind of calm that comes from knowing death too well. The pilot's voice crackled in overcomms, visual on the drop zone. Welcome to hell, people. The rear hatch opened with a roar, and the wind screamed into the cabin. Below them, Isla Imara spread like a haunted jungle dream, endless green, punctuated by broken watchtowers, collapsed steel fences, and blackened scars from fires long past. The ruins of the old Jensen facility barely peeked through the foliage. It looked dead, but Zora knew better. They descended fast. As soon as boots hit the ground, a chill spread across Zora's spine, not from fear, but instinct. The air here didn't feel like Earth. It felt ancient. No birds, no insects, just silence. Suddenly, a low rumble pulsed through the ground. Loomis froze. Did you feel that? Before anyone could answer, a deafening shriek ripped through the jungle canopy, metallic, primal, and absolutely wrong. Not a normal dinosaur. This was something engineered. Tariq swore under his breath. That wasn't in the briefing. Zora knelt, scanning the tree line. Her instincts screamed ambush. Move out, she barked. Stay tight. Weapons ready. This island isn't sleeping. It's watching. As the team entered the treacherous jungle, somewhere not far away, a creature blinked its golden eyes, tilting its head as if in amusement. The hunt had begun, but this time, it was the prey who thought they were in control. The jungle wrapped around them like a living beast. Vines hung low, slick with dew, and massive leaves curled toward the narrow trail like claws. The deeper the team moved, the darker the canopy grew. Every step was slow, deliberate. Even the sound of boots against wet moss seemed allowed to vulnerable. Still nothing on thermal, whispered Inez, scanning the terrain through her visor. Her voice barely traveled beyond her lips. The tracker attached to her forearm pulsed softly in red, a heartbeat, but not theirs. Loomis followed behind Zora, head down, scanning a small bioscanner clutched to his chest. There's movement ahead, something big, but it's slow. Could be residual heat from a stego or even a Dilophosaur nesting site. Zora held up a clenched fist. Halt signal. The team froze. Movement? She asked. Loomis looked up. Yes, about 50 meters. It's stationary now. Creed raised his sniper scope, eyes narrowed. Vegetation's too thick. No visual. Then came the sound, subtle at first. Leaves brushing, a branch cracking, a low huff like the exhale of a beast. Not from ahead, from behind. Tariq spun, raising his weapon to late. Out of the trees, a blur of black-green muscle exploded forward. Teeth flashing, claws extended. It wasn't large like a Rex, but it was lightning fast. Zora barely had time to yell down before it pounced. Tariq fired wildly, but the creature was already past him. It crashed into Loomis, sending the scientist flying into the mud. Zora dove, rolled, and came up with her rifle aimed. Creed let loose a single shot, direct hit to the beast's neck. It staggered, screeched in agony, and vanished back into the trees. Breathing heavy, Loomis struggled to sit up. Blood dripped from a shallow gash across his shoulder. His scanner had been shattered. What the hell was that? He gasped. Zora approached the impact zone. Claw marks 3 feet long dug into a nearby tree. Not a raptor, not a carno, something worse. She turned to the team, voice sharp. This wasn't random. It was watching us, testing us. Inez whispered, "It let us live." A deathly silence followed, the kind of silence that only comes before something unspeakable. And somewhere, deeper in the jungle, that same beast licked blood from its claws and smiled. Asterisk the trail led them to a clearing bordered by shattered monorail tracks, rusted and half consumed by jungle vines. Beneath the tracks stood a decaying observation dome, its once glass roof cracked and weeping under years of storms. Moss had claimed the walls, but a faint glimmer of movement flickered inside. Zora raised a clenched fist again. The team spread out, guns trained, senses sharp. Through the dusty dome glass, Zora saw it, a young boy, barefoot, dirt-streaked, holding a piece of broken metal like a sword. His eyes met hers, wide, afraid, but filled with something else, hope. Zora lowered her weapon slowly. "He's just a kid," she whispered. Seconds later, a woman burst from the shadows inside, early 30s, disheveled, clutching the boy, shielding him behind her with protective fury. A man followed, limping, bloodied. This wasn't a hallucination. They were real, alive. Creed kept his aim steady. Civilians, here. This place was sealed years ago. The woman opened the cracked hatch. "Please, don't shoot," she gasped. We've been hiding for days. Something's out there, hunting us." Zora rushed forward, hand raised in peace. "Who are you? How did you get here?" "We're scientists," the man choked out. "Freelancers. Jensen offered us big money to run diagnostics on old biotech labs. They said the island was cleared, just bones and vines." Loomis stepped forward, shocked. "They lied to you." The boy tugged on Zora's arm, eyes full of fear. "There's something in the trees. It waits. It doesn't eat us all at once. It plays." Inez scanned the perimeter. "We need to move. Now. This place is exposed." Just then, a shadow darted past the trees. No roar, no stomping, just a gliding silence. Zora's instinct screamed again. Creed took over watch. "It's circling us." Zora turned to the family. "You're with us now. Stay close, and whatever happens, don't scream." As the team moved deeper into the jungle, now with 3 more vulnerable souls, the hunter in the woods changed its rhythm. This wasn't just about food anymore. Now, it was sport. As night fell, the jungle changed. The vibrant greens turned to ashen grays, and the dense canopy above swallowed the moonlight whole. Zora and the team had taken shelter inside a collapsed Jensen observation outpost. Its steel, bones twisted, screens shattered, and lab terminals half-eaten by vines. But even in ruin, it buzzed with dying electricity. Loomis found an access panel flickering faint blue. "If I can get this system online, I might be able to tap into the old network, security cams, habitat maps, maybe even the vault's location." "Zora, stood guard at the door, listening. Make it fast. He connected a field battery to the terminal. The screen sputtered to life. Code scrolled rapidly, old AI systems waking from a decade-long coma. Then, a log file popped open. A list of test names. Subject 1 for 79A. There is Xenorex hybrid status. Terminated. Hostile instability subject 151 to C. Velociraptor times Panther Leo status. Escaped. Regenerative cells active Illumis paled. My God, they weren't just cloning dinosaurs. They were merging them. Lion DNA. Wolverine. Cephalopod neural threads. These weren't built to survive nature. They were designed to overcome it. Tariq stepped back. Why would anyone create something like that? Because someone wanted control, Loomis whispered. Control over evolution itself. Zora turned, and now that evolution wants us dead. Suddenly, a high-pitched beep pulsed from the console. Loomis leaned in. A map lit up, a grid of the island, red points marking movement. One dot blinked rapidly. Approaching, fast. Something's coming, he said. Big. 40 kilometers per hour. Straight for us. The family huddled together. The child sobbed silently. Outside, the jungle trembled. Doc Reed cocked his rifle and took position near a shattered window. We hold. If we run now, it hunts us faster. But deep down, Zora knew this wasn't just a creature anymore. It had tactics, patience, intelligence. And as another log flashed on the screen, Project Lazarus, cognitive experiment. Zora realized this was never a rescue mission. This was a cover-up. Asterisk, the entry shaft was narrow and steep, hidden beneath a collapsed observation tower. A rusted Jensen logo still clung to the shattered door like a scar of forgotten sins. Zora led the descent, her flashlight cutting through dust and memory. The family remained above with Creed and Inez, protected, for now, smells like rot and oil. Tariq muttered as he followed. Loomis tapped nervously on his wrist tablet. This substructure wasn't in the original facility plans. It must have been off the record. Black Site Lab. Then what the hell were they hiding down here? Zora asked, though the answer already clawed at her gut. They dropped 20 feet below surface level, into a tunnel of steel and flickering lights. Glass panels along the walls showed things not meant to be seen, embryos in stasis, labeled with cold scientific numbers and horrific combinations. Ceratops X9, Insecta mantis DNA wrapped a humanoid limb recovery test, Lazarus prototype. Neural uplink failed. Loomis stopped. They tried to teach them to think. They weren't building animals. They were building soldiers. Suddenly, the hallway lights dimmed, then turned red. Dot power surge. Motion detected. Tariq raised his rifle. Something's awake. Zora moved quickly to a control panel at the end of the corridor. She inserted Loomis's universal key. The screen blinked. Vault access. Granted datas. The heavy door groaned open. A gust of hot air rushed past them, thick with the smell of metal, blood, and electricity. Inside the vault, 3 large canisters glowed, each containing swirling DNA code. And next to them, a figure human dot, or what was once human, a man in a tattered Jensen lab coat, eyes bloodshot, skin pale, one arm twisted unnaturally as if half regrown. He didn't move. He just smiled. You shouldn't have come here, he whispered. You think you're stopping this, but you're just the final test. Zora raised her gun. What the hell are you? The man's smile widened. I'm what happens when evolution cheats. Suddenly, the alarms blared louder, echoing through the corridor. From the darkness beyond the vault, something massive shifted. Not a hybrid, not a clone, the Alpha. And it had just found them. Asterisk, the air inside the vault turned molten, dense with heat, fear, and something ancient. Zora didn't wait for another cryptic word. Back up, she ordered, grabbing the vials and shoving them into Loomis's pack. Tariq kept his gun fixed on the disfigured Jensen scientist, who remained smiling like a prophet awaiting fire. Then the wall shattered. A monstrous shape lunged through the steel, not stomping, not roaring, slithering, silent as smoke, massive as a tank. It stood on for muscled limbs, but could shift upright like a gorilla. Its body was plated with black, armor-like scales. Its eyes, yellow and vertical, flickered like flames. But worst of all, its face. It was asymmetrical, half raptor, half human, a grotesque evolution of instinct and intellect. Loomis gasped, frozen. That's not Subject 1512. That's Lazarus. The Alpha moved like a ghost. tail whipping through a pipe behind them. Sparks rained. The failed scientist collapsed, smiling even as the creature passed him. See, it remembers. Zora fired first. 3 rounds to the chest. Nothing. The bullets deflected like pebbles off stone. Tariq launched a flashbang. The light exploded, but the Alpha simply blinked and charged. The hallway turned into a nightmare. Pipes burst, steam hissed, sirens wailed. Zora grabbed Loomis and yelled, "Run!" Tariq held his ground, laying down suppressive fire. Go, all by time, but the Alpha was too fast. It rammed into him, claws crushing armor like foil, lifting him off the ground and slamming him into the wall. His scream was short. Zora didn't stop. She shoved Loomis through the outer vault door and slammed the override. Metal hissed shut behind them. Her eyes were wide, not just with grief, but with recognition. "He wasn't testing us," she said, breathless. "It was learning from us." As they stumbled into the night, jungle air cooling their burns, Creed met them at the tree line, blood on his shoulder. "What happened down there?" Zora didn't answer right away. She just looked back at the vault, now silent again. "Something's loose," she whispered, "and it remembers what it used to be." Asterisk rain fell hard, washing the blood from Zora's face, but not from her memory. Tariq was gone. Inez was still radio silent, and the family was now just a breath away from full panic. She wanted to scream, at Jensen, at the island, at herself, but soldiers didn't scream. They endured. They had taken shelter in the wreckage of an old control station, hollowed out by fire, its bones scorched black. Loomis sat hunched over his gear, shaking, clutching the DNA vials like they were relics from hell. The boy sat near him, silent, eyes wide, as if he had aged years in a day. Creed checked his ammo. "We're down to half a mag each. The chopper's supposed to extract in less than 5 hours. But at this rate..." Zora didn't reply. She was staring at the wall. No, beyond it, lost in the face of the Alpha. That face had stirred something. Buried. Operation Silencer, the mission that haunted her nights. 3 years ago, in the deserts of North Africa, she had led a squad into a remote Jensen testing zone. The goal, extract a rogue scientist who had violated bioethics protocols. But what they found were cages, not just dinosaurs, but hybrids. One in particular, a juvenile raptor with unnatural bone density, shimmery black scales, and eyes that stared. The long die had escaped, killed half her team, and then Zora let it live. She remembered the moment now, as clearly as the blood on her boots. She had it in her sights, her finger on the trigger. But something about it had stopped her. Maybe it was instinct, maybe guilt. That same creature was now the Alpha. "Zora," Creed called. "You hearing me?" She looked at him slowly, shadows under her eyes. "I know what it is," she said. "I know what he is." Creed's brow furrowed. Zora nodded. "Lazarus isn't just a hybrid. He's the only one who survived the first attempt, and I let him go." Silence fell again, heavier than before. Creed sighed. Then, this just got personal. Outside, lightning cracked, and for a split second, they all saw it, a silhouette at the tree line, standing upright, watching. Not a dinosaur. The rain had stopped. Not a beast, but the jungle only grew darker. With dawn still hours away. Zora knew they couldn't afford to stay still. The Alpha wasn't just hunting, it was hurting, manipulating. Learning. Creed loaded the last of his bullets into a spare mag and threw a look toward the shattered remains of the relay station's tower. "We can still try the backup uplink if I can get high enough. Maybe I can boost the extraction beacon, but I'll need cover." Zora nodded. "Take Loomis with you. He knows the tech. I'll stay here with the family." Creed hesitated. "You?" "Sure." She smiled faintly. "It knows me. If I move, it follows." He didn't argue. In war, there's no time for sentiment. Only trust. As Creed and Loomis vanished into the foliage, Zora turned to the couple and their son. The boy clung to a tattered backpack. Inside, a cracked photo of his dog. The mother, Emily, stared at Zora with hollow eyes. "Is he going to come back?" Zora tightened the strap on her rifle. "He has too." They moved through the ruined corridor of trees, Zora leading, flashlight off. The moon offered just enough light to see outlines, not details. She knew the Alpha was near, not by sound, not by sight, by presence. A subtle vibration under her boots, like thunder building in reverse. Then, a snap. Not behind. Above. Zora ducked instinctively, pulling the boy down with her as a sleek, jet-black figure dropped from the canopy like death incarnate. But it wasn't the Alpha. It was something smaller, faster, another hybrid project. Lynx, most likely a cross between a puma and a dilophosaur, its body agile. Jaws twitching with anticipation. It hissed. Zora fired once. Missed. It lunged, claws outstretched. Emily screamed. Zora slammed into the beast midair, blade out, steel biting into the creature's neck. It screeched, writhing, but Zora held firm, driving the knife deeper until it collapsed, twitching, lifeless, blood steamed on her arms. The child sobbed softly. She didn't console him. She couldn't. Not yet. Above, the tree shifted again. Zora looked up. The Alpha stood high in the canopy, not attacking, just watching. Judging. Waiting. She whispered under her breath, almost a prayer, "You're not hunting us. You're studying us." Then it vanished. No sound, no motion, just absence. And the realization hit her harder than any roar ever could. It was planning something. Asterisk Creed's boots crushed dead leaves as he and Loomis made their way up a jagged incline. The relay tower ahead looked like a dying skeleton. Twisted steel bones clawing at the night sky. Lightning flashed again, revealing vines growing through shattered control panels. Nature had reclaimed what man tried to conquer. Signals weak, Loomis muttered, fidgeting with his tablet. But if I patch into the tower's original uplink, we might trigger the satellite ping Jensen used for private extractions. Creed, scan the perimeter. We don't have much time. That thing's out there, and it's not alone anymore. Meanwhile, deep in the eastern jungle, Zora moved quickly, guiding the family along a forgotten path, a narrow trail once used by Jensen's internal personnel. At its end stood a bunker door, almost invisible under moss and earth. She wiped the grime off a biometric panel. Access denied. She reached into her vest and retrieved a blood-stained finger. Not hers. Collected from the mutated Jensen scientist they'd encountered earlier. She pressed it to the scanner. Access granted. The door hissed open. Inside lay the original DNA vault. Unlike the surface labs, this space was clean, untouched. Sterile white light still glowed from the walls. Rows upon rows of cryo chambers blinked blue, each labeled with strange codes. Dracovulpus 3C Neuroxar Avian Hybrid 93X Humanus Species. Override. Loomis would have fainted at the sight. Zora stepped carefully. The vault didn't just store dinosaur DNA. It held experiments in ethics violation. The kind you read about in banned science fiction, not real labs. Then she saw it. At the center of the room, a cryo chamber unlike the others. Golden, secure, encrypted 10 layers. Deep. Project Genesis Prime Alpha Genome. Zora touched the glass. Inside floated not tissue, not bone, but a brain. Large, pale, encased in fluid and connected to dozens of neural probes. Suddenly, alarms flared. The cryo chamber pulsed red. A voice echoed across the vault's intercom system, glitchy, synthetic, and horrifyingly familiar. "Zora, is that you?" She froze. It wasn't a recording. It was Lazarus. His voice was in the system. Somehow, the Alpha had become more than flesh. It had merged with Jensen's core network. It didn't just remember. It had uploaded itself. "Now I know where you are," the voice whispered, "and I'm coming home." Asterisk. The lights inside the DNA vault began to stutter. Once sterile, white brilliance now flickering red, as if the facility itself had begun to bleed. Zora backed away from the cryo chamber labeled Genesis Prime, her breath shallow. The Alpha's voice still echoed through the walls, soft, eerie, almost personal. "You spared me once, but I'm not yours anymore." She ran. Behind her, the chamber hissed, not just unlocking, awakening. Above ground, Creed reached the top of the ruined relay tower, Loomis clinging to cables beside him. Signals climbing. Loomis yelled, eyes wide. Another 30 seconds and we'll be visible to the satellite grid. To late. The jungle erupted. Trees splintered. Metal screamed. A blackbird crashed through the undergrowth like a missile, claws dragging through dirt, tail slicing through foliage. The Alpha had arrived, but it wasn't the same creature from the vault. It was bigger. Faster. Its left eye now glowed with a soft blue light. Artificial. Digital. Creed raised his weapon. "Move, Loomis. Get that signal out." The Alpha lunged. Creed fired round after round, but it wasn't enough. The beast swatted him aside like a ragdoll, sending him crashing into rusted beams. Blood, bone, silence. Loomis screamed, not out of fear, but desperation, and slammed his fist into the transmitter. Ping sent. The Alpha turned toward him, head tilting slightly. Clever. It whispered and vanished into the trees again. Far below, Zora and the family emerged from a hidden lift, just in time to see smoke rising from the tower. She knew Creed was gone. Loomis staggered toward her, eyes wet. He gave us the signal. We've got maybe 30 minutes. The boy clutched her leg. Is it over? Zora didn't answer. She stared at the sky, storm clouds churning, and whispered, no, it's only evolving. Somewhere across the jungle, in the ruins of an old Jensen satellite dish, red lights began to blink. Not from machinery, from within the trees themselves. The Alpha had infected the island. Now, it wasn't just a predator. It was everywhere. Zora sprinted through the tangled underbrush, Loomis and the family close behind. Smoke trailed in the sky, a signal flare from the downed relay tower. Creed's sacrifice had worked. Extraction would come. But that didn't mean survival, because the Alpha had locked the island. Every escape route, the coastal docks, the jungle tram lines, even emergency helipads were overridden by Jensen's original protocols, now controlled by the beast. They gave it access to the failsafe systems. Loomis shouted breathlessly, dodging a fallen branch. The island obeys it now, like a neural command center. It's not just surviving here, it's ruling. Zora stopped at a rusted security hatch embedded in a hill. There's one place it can't control. The fusion core bunker. Jensen built it to destroy the entire island if containment failed. Manual only. Loomis blinked. You're saying we nuke the island? She stared at him. I'm saying we end this. No DNA, no escape, no legacy inside the core facility. Walls sweated from decades of humidity. They passed through flame-blackened corridors, rows of warning signs long faded. Authorized personnel only, fail-safe override, code red, nitrogen monoxide return after sequence initiation. They reached the control room. It was intact. The console screen blinked quietly, fusion core stable. Below it, a prompt. Initiate detonation. Why? And Zora stared at it. Suddenly, static in the comms. A whisper. You won't leave either way. The Alpha was watching. Lazarus, she hissed. You're not a god. You're a mistake. But the voice replied coldly, I was your mistake. Before she could press the button, alarm screamed. Proximity breach. The Alpha had entered the bunker. It wanted to stop her, not to survive, but to reproduce. The DNA vaults, extraction sequence, relay towers. It had prepared for something larger. You want to kill me? The voice echoed. Then burn with me. Zora turned to Loomis. Take the family. Find the evac point. I finished this. He hesitated. Now. They fled. She locked the bulkhead behind them. One final breath. Her hand hovered over the white key. Behind her, footsteps. Slow, heavy, intelligent. The Alpha stepped from the shadows. Half beast, half machine. Eyes glowing. Zora faced him. No fear. Just purpose. Let's go extinct together. Her finger dropped. Initiation confirmed. 15 o'clock countdown. The fusion core chamber hummed like a heartbeat. Deep, constant, growing hotter with every passing second. Red emergency lights circled the ceiling like a countdown halo. 14:27. 14:26. Zora moved slowly, boots crunching glass underfoot. Across the metallic floor stood Lazarus, the Alpha. Not roaring, not charging, but simply watching. His head tilted. One hand, clawed but humanoid, opened slowly. You created me, he said. Voice half machine, half memory. You let me live, and now you want me to die. Zora raised her rifle. I didn't create you. I spared you. There's a difference. The Alpha stepped forward. You pitied me. That was your first mistake. Without warning, he charged. Zora fired, a direct hit to the chest, but he kept coming. They clashed. His claw slashed across her shoulder, sparks flying as it scraped armor. She rolled, slid beneath him, grabbed a steel rod from the floor, and drove it into his leg. He roared, part beast, part modem glitch, and swung wildly, smashing the control terminal. 12:02. 12:01. They fought like shadow and flame. Zora landed punches, dodged swipes, emptied her clip point blank into his chest. But the Alpha adapted, learning her moves with terrifying speed. He pinned her down, claws inches from her throat. You want to destroy this island? He hissed. Then destroy yourself, because you and I, we are the same error. Zora growled, blood on her lips. No, I chose to protect. You chose to dominate. She reached into her boot and pulled out Creed's final grenade, a microcore igniter. Pressed it to his chest. Click. Beep. Alpha froze. What have you? Zora kicked him backward and rolled away just as the grenade exploded, a thunderous flash that tore half his torso apart. He screamed, a broken, glitched wail. Zora limped toward the final failsafe override, her armor smoking, eyes burning with resolve. The Alpha crawled after her, body half destroyed, but mind intact. He reached for her leg, one last attempt to survive. Zora spun and stomped on his arm, hard. Goodbye, Lazarus, and she pressed the second key, override locked. Final 60 seconds. The Alpha looked up, eyes flickering blue to black dot, then still dead. Zora fell to her knees, smiling, not from victory, but from release. Asterisk 059 058. The fusion core chamber now pulsed like a dying sun, walls glowing orange, heat distorting the air. Zora leaned against a pillar, blood seeping from her wounds, her breath shallow, but steady. The Alpha lay silent behind her, broken body, finally still, its flickering eye gone dark. A soft crackle buzzed in her earpiece. Zora, do you copy? It was Loomis. She smiled faintly and pressed the comm. I copy. We made it to the extraction ridge. A Jensen evac drone just locked on. We're getting out. His voice cracked. Where are you? Zora looked up at the fusion core's digital countdown. 040 for 043. She didn't answer that part. Instead, she asked softly, the boy, is he safe? Yeah, he's asleep. He's okay now. Because of you. A tear slid down her cheek, part pain, part peace. Then that's enough. Wait, Zora, you're not. She shut the comm. Silence. Except the hum of the core, now a roar. She stood with effort, limping toward the observation window. Through the glass, she saw the jungle outside. The same jungle that had once been filled with wonder, with dinosaurs. With monsters. Now it would become ash. She closed her eyes, and for one last moment, she remembered Creed's laugh, Tariq's jokes, the boy's frightened face, and the day she chose not to pull the trigger. Zora took one final breath, then the world exploded. A fireball tore through Isla Imara like a wrathful sun. The entire island bloomed in flame, trees atomized in an instant, cryovaults melted, towers disintegrated, and with it, the past was finally buried. Above the clouds, a drone chopper sped away, Loomis holding the boy close, eyes wide as the orange. Light swallowed the horizon. No one spoke, because they knew. A soldier had stayed behind, so the future could go on. Astor's 6 months later location, Washington, D.C., congressional hearing. Classified Lavelth chamber was cold and quiet, save for the clicking of pens and the occasional cough. On the projector, behind the panel sat the last transmission image, Isla Imara, moments before its obliteration. Redacted documents floated across screens. At the stand, Dr. Elliot Loomis, thinner, grayer, but alive. A senator leaned forward. And you're telling us this was all real? Hybrids, neural AI, a creature that took control of a military-grade network. Loomis simply nodded. It didn't want to be king of the jungle. It wanted to rewrite the food chain. And we built it. Murmurs filled the room. What happened to the woman? Zora Malik. Loomis's voice cracked. She stayed, triggered the failsafe, gave up her life to bury our mistake. A silence fell, the kind only truth can create. Far from Washington, in the Swiss Alps, the Jensen HQ sat abandoned. Dozens of their executives had fled or been indicted. The labs were empty now, except for one room, a memorial chamber. Inside, a glass case held Zora's dog tags, her last field, notes, and a digital recording extracted from her helmet before the blast. On loop, her voice played softly. We thought we could resurrect nature, but nature doesn't forget, and it doesn't forgive. This isn't the end. It's just our second chance to do better. Elsewhere, in a quiet suburban home, the boy, now safe, with a foster family, played with a wooden dinosaur. He paused, looked out the window. In the sky, a plane flew overhead. He smiled, but in his eyes, there was something deeper, something that remembered,